Welcome to Flip the Script with Vic, a sacred space for honest, unfiltered, and sometimes taboo conversations between women walking the path of truth, healing, and soul remembrance. What started as my personal exploration has become a communal prayer, a podcast devoted to amplifying women's stories in their own words. I'm your host, Victoria Nielsen, intuitive healer, mama, and space holder for the divine feminine. Here, we gather as cycle breakers, mothers, mystics, creatives, witches, and wild ones, flipping the script on what it really means to be a woman in today's world. Through raw interviews, intimate solo casts, and brave conversations, we'll chat about motherhood, mysticism, psychedelics, spirituality, and more. You'll be reminded that your voice matters, that your truth matters, that you're here to walk in beauty. So be the prayer, and let's flip the script. Are you ready? Let's jump on in. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Flip the Script with Vic. It's your host, Victoria Nielsen. As always, I am so excited to get to have another amazing conversation with a woman that I admire and I'm so inspired by. Mary Feister is I feel like mermaid angel, mystical human. But she's also a Reiki Master. She's an empowered empath, a retreat host, an amazing creative writing facilitator, and somatic coach. Mary, you're just all the things. And we've never actually met in person, which is really wild to me because I feel like we have in previous lifetimes. But just being in your energy is so calming and soothing. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to be here. When you reached out, it was just a full yes. And yeah, we haven't met in person, but I feel so drawn to you and everything you speak to as well, and the spaces that you hold. So yeah, I'm very excited to chat today.
So walk us through your journey, because I know you were a nurse previously and then have kind of gone on this huge journey to now live out of your van and really lean into your intuitive gifts. Were you always intuitive and kind of ignored it, or how was that growing up? And what made you decide to become a nurse? Was it this want to help people, I'm assuming?
Yes, yes. So to give a little bit of background to my story is really this belief that I hold and what I instill with those that I work with, to help them remember that we are naturally intuitive beings. All of us are psychic, right? And so yes, I was born intuitive, I was born sensitive, I was very attuned, and it didn't always feel so empowering, right? And so when I was younger, growing up in a bigger family, there was 5 kids, there was both my parents, but there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of different energies. There was, a lot of chaos, which I know a lot of people can relate. And I had my way of coping, which was often to go disappear into the woods. I grew up on 10 acres in northern Michigan, and I would go sit with the trees, and I would write, and I would talk to the plants, and I would be this little empathic being, just to kind of get out of the noise, right? And as I was growing up, though, I grew up in a really small town, and there wasn't even really yoga studios, and so it wasn't until I went to college where I discovered yoga. I started to move into meditation, and I was also studying to be a nurse because I was always drawn to helping, right? And that again there's shadow sides to that as well, and there was a lot of desire to be the light, in people's darkest days. And it took me a while to realize if we're really, there's ways that we can be disempowering others if we're trying to always be the helper, the fixer, and that's a role that empaths can often fall into, and so I followed that path. As in the time, it was really the looking around that was the safe way. My family really pushed providing for yourself, and moving out of a a family that really struggled financially for a long time. And so I really wanted to be solid, to be provided, for without leaning on anyone else. And I wanted to help people. And so nursing made sense. And while I was in nursing school, I did start to find the more holistic approach, and it felt so natural, so true to me. It spoke directly to my soul. And, I was making big moves to move out of my hometown, my home state, to start all over, and already following that calling to like live life differently, right? To live life differently. And I still had a lot of inner work to do around regaining self-trust and regaining trust in the world around me, and just doing that work on those bigger traumas and those things that we learned along the way, right? The times that we were told that being too sensitive was a problem, or the times where we lost trust in ourselves because we thought we followed our intuition and then something bad happened, or anything like that, right? And throughout my childhood, I would have really profound dreams. I was a huge dreamer in the dream realm. I saw some spirits, and then found out, other people didn't see that, so there's a lot there.
It's funny, I was just talking to someone about this, that I also was a dreamer, but I turned it off. I got scared, and I told my dreams I didn't want them anymore because they were kind of scary and I didn't understand them at the time. And so I love that you were open to them though, and that you didn't do that, because I very much was like, no, never mind, and turned my intuition off for a very long time because of it. But to hear your story too of, I didn't come from much either, and I feel like we have extra chips on our shoulders that we have to work through. And I don't know where your Chiron is. My Chiron's in Cancer, but I feel like that's been my biggest lesson, is that self-trust and that self-love, and remembering that as I come back through absolutely everything. Because the same for you is I was told, get the stable job, go to college, do the thing, and you're going to be provided for, you'll be taken care of. And it's wait, but that's not how it works, actually.
Right. Nothing is guaranteed. And I think we're seeing that more and more in this world right now, that even the safe, stable path is, that's actually false as well, right? That's an illusion to a certain extent. And so if we place all of our chips in this path that we're not stoked on, and we're also just doing it out of more the fear, the scarcity, the comfort, right? That is unstable ground. And so I love that you spoke to that of turning the dreams off as well, because that is really inside of my work with clients and Empowered Empath, and teaching Reiki, and mentoring energy healers. There's and even in poetic therapy work, it is this rewriting the story. And I love that you have this podcast called Literally Flipping the Script. I say that with my clients as well. We get to flip the script, right? It doesn't have to always be this way. And a lot of us grew up in a space where we feared our power, or we feared our intuition, or we feared our sensitivity, or we feared our dreams, right? And the ways in which things were coming through. I used to lucid dream, and I did shut that off because I was ooh, this is a lot. I don't know how to handle this, right? And so really coming into that space where I kind of didn't touch on this yet, but between being in the nursing field, I worked in the hospital for about 7 years after nursing school. And I was in that space, which is so not conducive to a sensitive soul.
I was I bet that was so draining. And the schedule of having to work. I mean, I say this I know, I have no idea. But is it 12 hours on and whatever off? I don't know. I just feel that schedule in and of itself isn't conducive for an empath, when it's all right, you have to be on for this amount of time, and it's probably longer than you normally would be. And you're interacting with all this energy and all these people. And then depending on how their day has been, did you even have energetic hygiene back then to know to clear your energy and stuff? Or would you carry things with you? Okay.
Not at the beginning. And oh my gosh, did I carry things home with me? Not just from my partner at the time, my friends at the time, my work at the time, all this, all of the patients that I worked with at the time, my coworkers at the time. Yes, I was feeling a lot. I was feeling very ungrounded, and I was feeling very conflicted because there were so many, nursing especially, and I know there's other professions in this space like that, but when you tell someone you're a nurse, it's this immediate like respect and honor and trust from people. And there's a study out there that at one point, I don't know if this is still true, that it was the most trusted profession. And
Wow.
so there was a lot of guilt inside of me for being drained by it, for not feeling fully fulfilled in it, feeling like I'm kind of stuck in it because I chose this, right? For a while. And I would, uh, Empowered Empath really started to take form. The methodology that I teach in there started to take form before I even knew what Reiki was, before I even, just from starting to become aware of my energy and starting to become aware of what supported me and feeling more resilient, more grounded, more centered in a 12-hour shift, because yes, it is about 12 hours, which sometimes is more like 13. And I worked nights for a couple of years as well, which is also very not conducive for an
You're like
empath.
completely
And
like,
in the fluorescent lighting, and it's you're also around not only just the urgency of that space, but also a lot of like, so a patient would pass and it's like you have protocols in place. You can't like take the time with the family like my soul desired to, because it's like I have 6 other patients and this room needs to be turned over. And so there was a lot that wasn't sitting well within my system. And of course, it took me years to kind of come into full recognition of that in different ways. But coming into what I call energy hygiene, which is like grounding, clearing, protecting, right? Just those really basic things that as empaths we need daily, right? We need those strong foundations. And I remained in the field for a couple more years in that space of, being attuned to Reiki, becoming certified as a yoga teacher, learning to teach meditation. And there was it felt a lot more sustainable, but I was simultaneously being pulled into my soul work more and more, and
mm,
knowing like this is not my long-term place to best serve like what God created me for, and my design, and what I'm here to support people with. It's no longer in that space. And then it's just working with the ego to not listen to the fear and stay in that space forever, right?
right? Like you're like, I
Create the
swear this
suffering
is what I'm
forever.
supposed to be doing. Like, did it feel like, I mean, did you have a big aha moment, or it kind of sounds like it was little by little over time, like as you followed the breadcrumbs? I feel like that's how it was for me anyway, that it's like a little more gets revealed, a little more gets revealed, a little more gets revealed. But it does come a time when you have to take that leap of faith and you have to say like, okay, maybe I don't
Mm-hmm.
know 100%, or I don't know like the next 5 steps. I only know the next one or like half step. But that like things speed up after you take the leap, but that like the universe almost
Yes.
waits for you to take the leap, if that makes sense.
100%. Yes. And I had so many what really were big leaps, but they were truly just breadcrumbs, right? Like it was leave the 6-year relationship that wasn't fulfilling me, leave the house that we bought together, leave the hospital job, like, leave everything that isn't feeling life-giving, that isn't feeling true to myself. And at this time, I, I went off and did, I was like, okay, let me meet it halfway, right? Let me meet it halfway. And I'll do travel nursing during the pandemic. And so I
Okay.
travel nursed. And so that was a little bit of like one foot in, one foot out, because I could work for 3 to 4 months and then kind of take off, run away and go do a training and go travel and like feel that freedom and like really go after my dreams until I was like, okay, and now I need money. I need to go back into travel nursing. So I was in that, like I was taking steps forward, but it wasn't time for me yet to like take the full leap, right? And I was really in that like student sponge mode in that time. And there was a moment after my last travel nurse assignment where at this time I was practicing Reiki, I was teaching yoga consistently, I was teaching meditation, I was starting to show up online and like sharing my medicine in that way, which was completely new for me. And I was in Costa Rica. I had traveled to Central America and went to Envision, which I think is going on now. And
I think it is.
right? Yeah, it was like post Envision, probably 3 years ago now. And I had the biggest ego death of my life. I was like a wreck. I was coming into this, like I had my flight home. I was thinking about buying a van. I was scared to do it alone though. I was single at the time, and I also was like, I can't go back to nursing. I promise I won't go back to nursing. But I also was like, can I do this? Can I? Is this possible? I haven't really seen anyone do exactly what I'm being called to do. And ego death it was so intense. I had a whole like panic attack. I also in, like the same week was in a medicine ceremony with mushrooms, and I literally had to like accept that I might die because my whole like I went through this whole thing. That's just a story for another time.
I know, but you have to tell me this. Like, I love mushroom journeys. I'm like, what? Tell me the whole thing.
Gosh. I had to accept that I may die here in this jungle, and I have to like come to terms with it because my whole leg was numb, and I got bit. I thought I got bit by maybe something in the jungle because I couldn't feel my entire leg. Light
But
language
did you
was
know
like
it was
pouring
just the
in.
mushrooms? Was it just the mushrooms that were making you
It
feel
was
that
the
way?
mushrooms playing lessons on me, and I had to accept help and like actually speak, what I needed support with, and accept that like, oh, this could be it, and on the other side of that was this new lit fire of like, what the fuck am I waiting for?
Right?
What the
Like,
fuck
if
am I
this really
waiting
is
for?
it, then like, come
Yeah.
on, like, let's go.
Yes. And I started to build out my website. I flew back to the States. I bought a van. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going all in. I hired my first mentor and was just like, never went back.
I love that. Can we talk about the mentor thing? Because I feel like I love how open and honest you are about the fact that you have mentors and that like they're worth investing in, and that actually like investing in yourself is one of the most powerful things that you can do. Like, I think that's just not talked about enough. And I feel like there are always phases, right, when you're meant to be the student and you're meant to keep learning and growing and expanding, and that actually being in someone else's energy is just as powerful. That like sometimes we need those people to just even show us what's possible, or like be in that energy to realize that we can create that energy ourselves. I don't know, I love that. I just think it's not talked about enough. And I love that from the jump you were like, yeah, I'm gonna get mentorship, I'm gonna get support, like I'm gonna get help with what I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I love bringing this here as well, because I think there can be almost this it's the voice of imposter syndrome that is actually keeping people from just shouting out their mentors and being like, yeah, I'm not fucking doing this alone. Like, it's that feeling of like, oh, I should be taking like all of this credit, and not to say in that way, like it's probably unconscious, right? But it's almost this, I sense it as that fear of like, if I admit I'm getting help, if I admit it actually takes several people to support me, to support others, then does that mean I'm something less, or I didn't have it without them, or something like that, right? But I'm like, holy shit, the best investment we can make is in ourselves, like, because we have infinite potential. Like I said, that safe job they could fire you at any moment, right? Like any, but
Truly.
really you yourself have infinite potential. So why would you not? Why would you not, like, if there is someone that really speaks to you and you're activated towards your dreams, towards your vision, towards action, every single time you like receive their words, or you feel something inside of you in their presence, go for it. Because truly, like, and I think the big piece there is often like moving in out of the fears of the ego mind as well, right? There's so many stories that can come up around money, around time, around, do I trust myself to actually get the results that they're telling me? And it's really like, you will get what you put into it. And when I think back to the first mentor I hired, oh my gosh, I thought about it for over a week, and I was so back and forth because it was like $1,000, and at the time, I think I hadn't invested that much, in myself at that point, trainings here and there, but I was still very much in the like, I need a deal, or like I'll spend and then I won't look at my bank account, and and there it's just incredible to feel the timelines that collapse every single time that I have made an investment in myself and my business and the vision, and actually looking at like, whoa, is this going to support me? Is this going to support me in my service? Is this going to support the time to decrease between, where I am now and where I see myself going, right? And you hear people say this all the time, but like, be, do, have, right? Be in that energy, be in that frequency, be the version of you that believes that it's going to make a huge difference, and it will, right? And it's just wild, the activation alone without even starting in a mentorship is just like, just your yes, right? Just the process that it takes to get to your yes and like make that first payment, the energetic upgrade is already there. Right?
Yeah.
And then it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
everything else inside the container is a bonus, is the way I really see
Exactly.
it.
Oh my God. No, I say that all the time. Like the minute you say yes, like even if you haven't paid the money yet, but like you and your spirit and soul are like, okay, it's a yes, like you're turning yourself on for that like transmission, that energy, that complete difference. And it's funny, like the very first investment I ever made was to learn the Akashic Records, and that was like $1,000. I remember being like the most I had ever spent. But the one that made not the biggest difference, I would say, but like kind of came out of nowhere was after having my first son, Sebastian. I saw this like Kundalini business program. I don't even think I realized it was a business program. I honestly don't even know what the hell I thought it was. But like I signed up because I just knew I was supposed to be a part of it. And I didn't really understand what I was signing up for. I'd never really done Kundalini. I didn't have a business. But then sure enough, like 3 months into it, I started my first business, and I needed to see that. I needed to see that it was possible, that like actually this thing that I had been doing for myself for so long could be something that I could do for other people, and that I could make money at it, and that I could actually like be good at it, and like change my entire life path. Like I think back, it's like if I hadn't have said yes to that, yes, I would have gotten to where I am eventually, right? But like probably would have taken years. It would have taken a lot longer because I didn't believe in myself then, right? And like that yes collapses timelines. Like that yes fast forwards your track of where you're going like exponentially, because we have free will on earth, right? Like just because and I don't know what you believe, but like yes, there are some things that are kind of, fated in a sense. Not that they're going to like have to happen at a certain time, but that like they're on your life path. But that with our free will, we speed it up, because that is a key component of the energy here on Earth. Like other planets, other galaxies, other frequencies don't have that. We have to say yes. We have to be willing to meet it. And then it gets to get going forward. But until we're open to it, like nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I actually just posted a story on this on Instagram, like before this
Oh my God,
recording
I love
together.
that.
Was just like really speaking to the co-creation here, right? We can be in the manifestation, in the energetics, in the visualization, all of that is beautiful and part of the equation there, right? But you also have to be in the action taking, in the doing, in the meeting God halfway. And in that, right, it's like it can't help but work out. It can't help but meet you there, because you are not only holding the energy of it, the belief in it, and you're actually already embodying the frequency, but then you're also saying yes. And I can also, I'm already showing you that I can hold the answered prayer because I'm already in the action. I'm not going to collapse. I'm not going to collapse when it actually arrives, because I've just been sitting here and now I don't know what to do with it, right? And I like to always remind people that like it's everything's a pendulum, and it can be natural to kind of go back and forth into these, and then we have to find that balance, that true like in between co-creation energy. But like surrender is an active state. Receiving is an active state, right? And so we need the balance. Like our bodies like to be in homeostasis, need to be in balance. That's what energy work supports. And so does the universal laws respond to that as well. And so really, really coming into that balanced piece, and that is what collapses timelines. And I say this, I want to like preface this because I receive a lot of messages from people when they are curious about learning about Reiki, or becoming Reiki attuned, or, diving deeper into their path. A lot of people are like, oh, I had a reading from a psychic and they told me this, but I'm feeling something different, or, and I always preface, like inside of sessions, inside of mentoring energy healers, because I lean on a very intuitive psychic type of non-traditional energy healing. And it's like, do not give your power away to anyone, right? Even if I have a message come through for a client, I am like, this is your message. I'm the translator. If you ever feel like your interpretation is different, if you ever decide tomorrow, like, nope, that's actually not what's gonna, that's not what I'm gonna follow, you have that free will, you have that sovereignty, and go with yours, right? Go with what you believe, what you choose to believe. And you're not powerless, right?
No. And just because that person, it is their lens that they're transmitting it through. And that has your own experiences, your feelings, your opinions, all of that. Even the best readers will have a little bit of a lens. I try so hard in all of my Akashic readings to not project anything. Like whatever I'm being shown visually, I will say. And if I don't have a message coming through, then like I don't share it, or I don't whatever. Because just like that, a sunflower to you could mean something. It could be like a sign from your grandmother. Whereas to me, a sunflower doesn't mean that. But I then put my interpretation on it, and now all of a sudden the message is different, and maybe it doesn't resonate with you anymore, or maybe it's going to lead you to do something else. It's a muscle that you have to learn to trust, that like you always know what's best for you. And we have grown up thinking that people outside of us know better. Have always been taught that this other person that has more knowledge or has more whatever, like that they're the one that has the answers. No, you have the answers for yourself 1,000%. And we just pretend that we're confused, or we don't like the answer. Yeah. So we ask for a signier sign or what have you. But like, you always know. You always know.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, if there's any part of you that doubts that, like, but I just invite you to come back into that. Like what part of you doubts yourself, right? What part of you doubts yourself, and where do we learn it? Because it's all learned behavior. Any part of us that is holding that shame or that guilt or that doubt is learned behavior, and we can meet it with curiosity and compassion and patience and alchemize it, right? That's really what it is. And to re-find this innate self-trust, because you do know best. And that doesn't mean never go seek some other outside support, because there are times where we need that outside support, right? There's times in our life where we need that therapist, or we need that Reiki practitioner, that Akashic reading, because it's like we're not meant to do it alone as well. But yeah, it's again balance, right?
Exactly. Well, it's funny. The woman that I had on the podcast before we started recording was talking about human design, and like I have a tribal gate or something, and it's exactly that. It's like I actually need community to process. Like I need someone to be talking to bounce ideas off of. And it's not to say that I'm not in my own energy or that I'm not being sovereign, but I need that kind of back and forth almost to come into like my true answer, because I'm also like an emotional projector, and I need to ride that wave a bit. But before we go today, is there anything else coming through that you want to share that's on your heart that you think folks listening need to hear today?
Yeah, I would love to just speak to the fact that the world is feeling heavy. There's times in this existence that feel heavier than others, maybe, and social media can feel really noisy. And I want to just speak to those listening that are probably most likely empathic or drawn to, being a healer, a soul-led entrepreneur, all of the beautiful souls that Victoria really magnetizes and speaks to, is that you also hold the power over your energy, right? And it really is just taking back, like taking back your full, like, I am responsible for my own energy, right? No one gets to take my energy, and without you giving permission, consciously or unconsciously. And just reminding you to do what you need to do. If you're curious about learning more about energy hygiene, you can check out my page. I have lots of awesome free resources. We can dive deep inside of Empowered Empath together on that. But it really is up to you, as the world needs all of us empaths and heart-led healers and leaders in our bodies, in our power. And the less reactive and the less triggered and the less, disembodied we become from the external world, like the less impact we can make, the less light we can spread, the less like we could stand as a solid pillar right now, because that's really what we're here for. I truly believe that we're here to just lead this world back to a heart-led, like, sensitive is the normal, right? Sensitive is the normal. And yeah.
I love that.
Feels
I'm
really
holding that
true.
vision. I can see all of our beautiful pink little hearts just shining out of our chests, holding hands and leading each other to the light. So thank you so much for being here with us, Mary. You guys can check out all of Mary's stuff in the show notes. Please follow her on Instagram. She's just Mary Feister, right? On Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's got an amazing retreat in Bali coming up in May. I'm so jealous. I want to go back to Bali. So please check it out. If you ladies have never been, oh my God, like Bali itself will activate you. But she's facilitating with our other great friend, Lexi, who is so amazing. It's going to be, the women you guys are going to touch are just like the luckiest women ever. And to get to do it in Bali is going to be fantastic. So if you guys have liked this conversation, please like, rate, subscribe, review, share it with another woman who needs to hear it, another empath who wants to be empowered. Thank you for being here with me. Be good to one another. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.